In a world that moves so quickly, it's easy to understand the challenge of pricing your services and negotiating with clients in a way that gets each party exactly what they want. Pricing is a word so important, we contracted Industrial Light and Magic here at San Francisco's Presidio to digitally motion track this entire sequence. Except we didn't actually do that. We're at ILM because it's a pretty good example of a services-based company. It's particularly challenging to price visual effects, especially since there are so many subjective qualities. And George Lucas founded ILM back in 1975. It was born out of a need. Before it, there is no industry for special visual effects, and it all started with their first project, Star Wars. Beyond that, back when ILM started, there was no precedent for price. But as they generated more and more work, they got a better understanding of the cost of doing business, and more importantly, the value their work brought to motion pictures they contributed to. Starting out as a freelancer or even growing an existing freelancing business, it can often feel a lot like that. A lot of question marks at the beginning. But unlike ILM back in the 1970s, today there's a good amount of information about pricing that helps freelancers of all types better price their services. So we're going to cover a lot of that. We'll start with valuing our work. We'll need this for what we're sending Rebecca. Then we'll dive into 3 different types of pricing structures: hourly rates, getting paid by the hour; flat rates, this is payment per project; and the recurring or subscription model, a recurring fee over time. Then we'll cover free work, and finally, testing your prices on multiple clients. After we're done with all of this, we'll choose the route that's best for Hayes Valley Interior Design, so we can get that email over to Rebecca. We'll start with valuing the work, and it can be pretty easy to fall into the trap of undervaluing ourselves. We don't place enough value in the work we're doing. So what's a fair way to start pricing? Well, there are some things we can do before getting started. You can check existing rates for the kind of work you want. Some of these are hourly, some of these are annual salary. If you want to convert annual salary to an hourly figure, you can do what the US OPM does and divide that salary by 2,087. That's the effective hourly rate. Price can vary a lot if you're doing local work. It can really depend on your location. But if you're just starting out and you're not sure, it can help to do earlier projects on the lower end and price your way up over time. And we'll cover this a bit more when we talk about testing different price points. To be clear, there's no right or wrong way. In this video, we're covering 3 options, and different freelancers structure pricing differently. That's the beautiful thing. You can price these things however you want to price them. So how do we figure it out? How do we price a particular project? Well, let's start with the first pricing model we have here, hourly rate. We can take the number we settle on and charge that per hour of work we do on a project. If we charge $40 an hour and the project takes 40 hours, we charge $1,600. Hourly rates are great for freelancers who might not be sure of the time it'll take to achieve a particular goal, to finish a project. It's a transparent option for the client because they often get to see where those hours are going. That's why it's important to keep meticulous detail of what you're working on when. Is there such thing as too much detail? Yes. But keeping details and timing yourself can work for all types of pricing, and it can be a phenomenal way to keep yourself focused and accountable, something especially important if you don't work with a team of experts who can edit you if you start rambling and going on about things nobody really cares. Now that's hourly rate. What about flat rate? Flat rate is often a good choice. Everyone knows what the expectation is up front regarding the scope of work, what's being designed or built by the freelancer for the client. But we have to be extraordinarily careful to specify precisely what's included, and even more importantly, what's not included in our scope of work. You have to set really clear limits, otherwise we're bound to get clients who expect 10 rounds of revisions, hundreds of hours of work, and a potential effective rate of 12 cents an hour. But the great thing about a flat rate pricing is once you understand what's involved in the project, and if that's communicated to the client, you can start optimizing your effective hourly rate. By the way, what's an effective rate? If you're using a fixed price, a flat rate, you can still track the hours you put into each project, and you can even start competing with yourself regarding how long it takes to achieve specific goals. That includes the planning and organizing you're putting into a project. We're not just budgeting for material costs, we're budgeting our time. Let's say we're charging $5,000 for a project, and we expect it to take 80 hours to complete. And those hours don't have to be consecutive. In fact, we can block off a larger chunk of time, like 6 weeks, so we have plenty of room for that natural feedback and revision process that we're including. So what does that mean? It means if we take the time we spent, divide by the number of hours, that's an effective rate of about $62 an hour. Now, our effective rate is an internal rate because we're the only ones who care about it. Because if this is a flat rate project, the client's paying us $5,000 for the whole thing. With flat rate, you don't get more money if it takes you more time, and you don't get less money if it takes you less time. $5,000, flat rate. If it ends up taking you 120 hours to do the same project in which you thought it would take only 80, that's an effective hourly rate of $41. But what if you're able to do that same high quality work in, say, 60 hours? Instead of the original 80 hours you blocked off for yourself, your new effective rate is now $83 an hour. And what if you do it in 20? That's $250 an hour. Flat rate is good if you're pretty confident about what's expected in terms of the time you're investing into the project. It's good for the client because they still understand what the scope of work is, what's included and what's not included, but they don't have to review each hour you bill them as they might in an hourly rate deal. This is good for some freelancers, it's good for some clients, but there are freelancers and agencies everywhere that do hourly, and there are a bunch that do flat rate instead. It's smart to pick what works best for you, but that's flat rate. What about a recurring revenue model, like a monthly subscription service? This is one of the most interesting pricing models, but it also comes with the most variables. In short, a retainer or subscription model is based on the idea that you're charging a recurring fee, whether that's monthly, quarterly, annually, to build and maintain content for your client. It's attractive to the client because it can mean less money down at the start, but it can also mean limited short-term compensation for the freelancer. As an example, we can charge a hypothetical law firm $500 per month. Most of our work is front-loaded, meaning for the first month or two, we're spending a lot of time and resources to get the website up and running. But over time, the potential dollars we can take in, we can do a lot more. That's $6,000 a year in recurring revenue. If we have a 2-year minimum, that's $12,000 over 24 months. But there's another variable here with retainer or subscription models or any type of recurring payment, whatever you want to call it. If you don't set an explicit limit and you don't clearly define what's included and what's not included in your contract, you could be opening yourself up to a ton of work you might not originally anticipate. That can cost a lot in the long term. An interesting hybrid approach some freelancers do when they're setting up a deal like this is to charge an upfront cost, a down payment on the services you provide, plus a recurring monthly fee on top of that. $3,000 up front plus $300 per month for a 24-month minimum. Client gets a great site, 2 years of updates you agree upon. Not a bad deal for either party. The idea with a recurring revenue model or any type of subscription model is that the value you provide to the client carries far beyond setting up the initial site. There's a component of that revenue that's recurring. And this is good for freelancers who want a steady source of revenue and are okay with what often ends up being a smaller amount up front. And it's a good value for clients who want to make sure you're there for them over time. With this model, or any of these models, it's important to make sure that freelancers seek legal advice to make sure their rights and expectations are clearly spelled out in a contract with the client. But that's the last pricing model we'll cover here. Let's talk free work. When is it okay to work for free? There are some flaky freelancers out there, and chances are you'll run across at least one potential client who's been burned. They put up a certain amount of money and the freelancer they worked with disappeared. And that's not good business, but it's something to be empathetic about with your potential client. But that's something you can separate yourself from. Lack of trust in freelancers in general shouldn't affect your ability to get paid for the value you're bringing to a client. And it's not just freelancers. There are clients out there who, if you're not careful, can potentially take your work and run without payment. That is, unless you take active steps, a real effort to not invest any serious design or development time until you have everything in writing, and even a deposit for your work if that's part of the deal. Another point about free work or doing work on spec is that a lot of times, especially if you're starting out, potential clients can attempt to push you into doing free work just because they think they can. They'll attempt, of course, to sell it as experience or building your portfolio or a positive review. What do these three things have in common? Not one of them, not remotely, has anything to do whatsoever with buying food or paying bills. And saying no to free work can be paired with an honest effort to steer the client in the right direction. Help reassure them. You can offer to send them examples of your work. If their confidence or trust isn't there yet, you can offer to do a smaller part of the work at a smaller fixed rate, or even offering to make yourself available for another call or meeting to answer their questions and give them a consultation. It's efforts like this that clients recognize. There are always options, but there's another reason not to do free work. Saying no to free work demonstrates your value, not just to yourself, but to anyone who's doing business with you. There are clients out there who will ask you to do free work to determine your value, even as a negotiating tactic. Doing free work for others may diminish your value as a freelancer. Think long term. You don't need to earn your dream salary right out of the gate. But working for free does a disservice to you. It does a disservice to your value. And if freelancers are working without pay, what makes you think it'll be different the second time? They'll often just go to the next freelancer who won't be able to cash any one of the no checks they get from doing another project for free. And by doing free work like this, it can be seen by other freelancers as forcing them to offer free work as well. And economically, enough freelancers doing quality work for free forces prices for these services down across the board. If someone continues to pressure you, if you don't feel like you're being treated fairly, politely decline and walk away. And having said that, if your goal is to sharpen your skills and build your portfolio, a great way to do this, we mentioned this earlier in the course, is a redesign of a popular site online. That's free work. Finally, let's cover testing your pricing process. You might find that your starting rate is low, or maybe after a few client interactions, you might find it's too high. And client interactions can feel like a lot, especially the first 10 or 20 clients you have. Sometimes it feels like we'll do anything to not lose the client. But as long as you're making fair pay, over time, it's worth exploring an increase to whatever pricing model you're choosing. If you signed 5 clients at $50 an hour for your first 5 projects, consider what might happen if you try $55 an hour. But small tests like this might not be enough. If you only flip a coin once, you might land on tails. So next time you'd expect and it's tails. Surely this time it'll be heads, but it's not. Why? Well, we planned these shots in pre-production. But even if we didn't, no one would think twice about a result like this. After all, 3 coin flips, all landing on tails, isn't that much of a stretch. Each coin flip has a 50% chance that will land on heads or tails. That's the law of large numbers. As the sample size increases, the actual result, how many heads versus how many tails, gets closer and closer to the expected result. We expect 50-50. It's the same for your pricing and pricing models in general. You might try a new price out and the first client says no, or you end up negotiating and arriving on a different figure. A lot of people think that means they're stuck on a specific price forever. But just as the coin flips didn't come out to a perfect 50-50 at the start, your sample size of one client might not be large enough. Try it on another, and then another. Record your data, keep track of what you're offering. If you're negotiating and you end up lowering your price, track what you first offered and what you lowered it to. As you offer better and better work to clients, you'll often see a long-term upward trend, whether that's calculated in an hourly rate that you bill your clients, or if it's a result of you charging a flat rate or a recurring fee over time. Now, it's not uncommon for some experienced freelance web designers and developers to command rates in the hundreds of dollars an hour. These are US dollars, but only you and your clients can determine what's best over time. In short, it could be a good idea to start where you're confident and work your way up. Take notes of these changes and track your progress over time. As for us, we're going to offer Hayes Valley Interior Design a couple options. We'll offer them a flat rate or a subscription. And we'll make sure to include with that a breakdown of everything we'll do, a scope of work. A few more words on pricing, then in the next part of this course, we'll put that document together. When you look at a single frame of work that the team at Industrial Light and Magic has worked on, it's nearly impossible to put a dollar figure on it, especially because some of the best work they've done makes the final product look like they did nothing at all. And that's the point. Our perception, our expectation regarding the value of something can be wildly off. Just like ILM, it's the quality of your work and your reputation over time that current and potential clients care about most. But imagine this. Imagine ILM spent 10 years researching and developing a breakthrough way to do motion capture. They spent 10 years focused on perfecting this technology. Now imagine their first client, their first big project that uses this technology, uses it for only an hour. Is it fair to expect ILM to bill the client as if the only work ILM did was during that 1 hour? Or is it fair to bill for the 10 years they spent making that technology, building those skills they're using now? In other words, do you charge for that 1 hour or do you charge for the 10 years? There's no right or wrong answer. It's usually something in between. But your value isn't just the time you put into a single project. Your value over time is made up of your experiences, your learnings, even your mistakes. And that's the big picture. Value your work. Consider different pricing models like an hourly rate model, a flat rate model, and a recurring fee model. Always be careful around those who want you to work for free. And test your pricing so you can better track and match your increased value over time. The next part of this course is applying these pricing models to our scope of work document for Rebecca and Hayes Valley Interior Design. But that's it for now. That's valuing and pricing your work as a freelancer.